Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Hey. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. It is Friday, May 17th, 2019. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. And so far, it looks like the gremlins that were bothering our sound feed yesterday are gone. We're getting clear signals here at RBN, also on the YouTube feed. So anyway, let's get on into it. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. It's actually been a very busy news day. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Sam is in our control room ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions. So let's get right on into it. Boy, they are laying on the Iranian propaganda with a trowel out there. And I remember yesterday after the show seeing about how, members of the Senate were being given secret briefings about how Iranian proxies were bringing missiles into Iraq to attack American forces, and just on and on and on. Not one iota of proof. And of course, they've got this other one here. This is typically from, like the Daily Mail, where and they were talking about this a week ago. Iranian missiles have been loaded onto boats in the Persian Gulf and brought within range of U.S. bases, and that's what sparked the warning of a credible imminent attack. Of course, they're not showing you the photos. The photos are all classified by the Pentagon. We just have to take the word of the government that those evil Iranians are up to no good, because after all, we know the government would never lie to us about something as serious as, a war, or missiles on boats, or sarin gas, or nuclear weapons. This just reeks false flag on the way. It really does. Mike Pompeo is out there again insisting that Iranian-backed Shiite forces are moving missiles near U.S. bases in Iraq. So it looks like the false flag could actually happen inside Iraq. And then they're going to say, oh, trust us, it was Iran. It's like the way when 9/11 happened, and first they blamed Afghanistan. Once we got going in there, they said, oh, and by the way, Iraq helped on 9/11, so we've got to attack them as well. Great Britain has raised their threat level for the troops in Iraq over this alleged risk from Iran. And again, why would Iran do something this stupid and provocative? Iran does not want a war. They don't want to be bombed. They don't want to be invaded. They want to be left alone to build their country, to engage in commerce. They have no reason to attack either British or U.S. forces, despite the constant pounding, the goading that's been going on. The pulling out of the P5+1 deal, the crushing sanctions. Iran has endured a huge amount of abuse from the United States. So, over at the United Nations, Iran's permanent mission issued a formal statement strongly dismissing the U.S. media and psychological warfare inducing Tehran's intention to attack Washington's interest in Iraq. And they're saying there is no threat posed by Iran to anybody in Iraq. The statement was issued after the U.S. State Department ordered a partial evacuation of the embassy in Baghdad and the consulate in Erbil on Wednesday. And Iran's statement denounced the move as the latest escalation in the propaganda war, suggesting that Washington is trying to use them as a pretext to initiate a conflict. Gee, you think? So, Tehran's ambassador to the United Nations says Iran will not take steps toward the escalation of tensions in the Middle East, but it has to stand ready to defend itself against any act of aggression as the U.S. builds up its military presence in the region amid tensions with Tehran. So Majid Takht al-Ravanchi said a military conflict in the Middle East will be in the interest of no one, neither the United States nor Iran or the other regional states. He's saying we are not interested in the escalation of tensions. Everybody will lose. He's absolutely right about that. Of course, Iran they know what they're looking at when they look at the United States of America. So Iran's most prominent military leader has recently met Iraqi militias in Baghdad and told them to be prepared for a proxy war. Two senior intelligence sources said that Qassem Soleimani, leader of Iran's powerful Quds Force, summoned the militias under Tehran's influence 3 weeks ago amid a heightened state of tension in the region. The move to mobilize Iran's regional allies is understood to have triggered fears in the U.S. that Washington's interests in the Middle East are facing a pressing threat. I'm sort of on the side of Lavrov here. What pressing interest in the Middle East? What's the United States doing in the Eastern Hemisphere? All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. A little sip of water there. I get really dry doing the show. Okay. Iran has basically ruled out any possibility of renewed talks with the U.S. This may have been a response to Trump's comment. I think we reported it just yesterday where they were talking about all the weapons they have at the region. And then Trump said, we expect Iran will want to talk soon. Well, Iran is saying no. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif rules out any prospect of negotiation with the United States, calling Washington, D.C. a bully trying to force all others into acting illegally. Well, he certainly got that one right. And Zarif said there is no possibility for negotiations. And I can certainly see why, from his point of view. They went through a lot of work negotiating the P5+1 deal. And the U.S. just walked out on it. The U.S. doesn't keep their treaty obligations. There's no point in talking. Okay. Guided missile destroyers USS Gonzales and USS McFall transited the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, and their sailing proceeded without challenge or harassment from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, despite the extreme tensions in the area. The two warships are armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Tulsi Gabbard is out there once again saying that Trump must avoid a very stupid and costly war, and just came out swinging, saying the president is on the brink of launching a very stupid war with Iran and must be stopped, adding that Trump is going back on promises to stay out of such conflicts. And she's right. Trump campaigned on non-intervention and getting out of these wars, but then so did Barack Obama back in 2008. It's almost like it doesn't really matter who sits in the Oval Office. The war machine continues to go on. Now, there's an interesting little analysis that came out of Press TV suggesting that the reason the war with Iran is being cranked up right now is to serve as a distraction while this political battle over his possible obstruction of justice is going on. Right now, there's constant pressure by Democrats trying to expose anything Trump has done that could lead to impeachment. And Trump could use a good distraction, and nothing distracts from politics better than a good old war. And I certainly hope that's not part of the thinking, but it wouldn't be the first time. Would not be the first time some president hauled off and attacked a foreign country to get out of an embarrassing situation here at home. Okay. Over in Syria, the Syrian Arab Army and its allies in northwestern Hama eliminated at least 45 militants during the past few days. Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Mahmoud al-Shamali of Jaish al-Nasir, Captain Ahmed Ismail and Mohammed Najjar of the Idlib Free Army, and Mohammed Abdul Karim and Muayyad al-Jassar of Jaish al-Izza were among the eliminated militants. So the Syrian Arab Army is currently developing its advance in the area of Sheikh Sultan. So that's going very well for Damascus here. Apparently, Saudi Arabia has resumed bombing the capital of Yemen, Sana'a, and over 50 people have been injured, including Russian nationals. And this is thought to be a retaliation for the drone attack on the oil pipeline. One of the strikes wiped out an entire family after a building they lived in collapsed on them, killing both spouses and a child. Total of 6 civilians dead. All right. Now, have you noticed how the U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, just gets off on all this religious characterizations about Israel? How Israel is on the side of God. And now he's basically saying that the U.S.-Israel relationship is like the altar of the original Jewish temple in Jerusalem. And he's calling the new embassy a shrine that people pray to and thank God for. This guy is starting to sound certifiable. He's sketching awfully close to that no establishment of religion clause in the First Amendment. Over in Europe, Angela Merkel has basically announced that the post-war, meaning post-World War II order, is now officially over, and that Europe needs to unite to stand up to the United States, along with Russia and China, and reposition itself in a changed world. And a lot of this was triggered by the ongoing tussle over higher import tariffs and Iran pulling out of the Iran deal. And so Merkel said that the old certainties of the post-war order no longer apply, meaning Germany is not, in fact, a colony of the United States of America any longer. By the way, Merkel has announced that when she is done with this term as chancellor, she's retiring from politics. She's not interested in anything after that. I can imagine she's on a little bit of burnout. Early today, the ruling coalition in Ukraine broke up, and apparently the People's Front Party quit outgoing President Petro Poroshenko's faction. So this paves the way for incoming President Volodymyr Zelensky to call a snap election. Parliament has 1 month to form a new coalition, or else the president can dissolve Parliament and call snap elections. And yes, my YouTube feed is starting to deteriorate. Over in Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro released a video of his first ever meeting with the representatives of the International Contact Group, during which the impact of U.S. sanctions on the South American country was discussed. In early May, EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini said that the bloc-backed group leading efforts to stabilize the crisis in Venezuela would be considering sending a political mission to Caracas. And looks like that's exactly what's happening. Everyone is starting to wag around their new weapons and say, look, I've got this wonderful thing, and I've got this wonderful thing, and this is going to be amazing. And considering how most of these weapons don't always live up to the sales pitches. Take the following with a grain of salt. The Air Force has deployed 20 missiles that are basically carriers for high-power microwave transmitters. And they are designed to zap the military electronics of North Korea or Iran with high-power microwaves, rendering their military capabilities virtually useless without causing any facilities. So this is known as the Counter Electronics High-Power Microwave Advanced Missile Project, or CHAMP. The missiles were built by Boeing's Phantom Works for the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory. They claim that they were tested successfully in 2012. They have never been deployed until now. The microwave weapons are fitted into an air-launched cruise missile and delivered from B-52 bombers. They have a range of 700 miles. They can fly into enemy airspace at low altitude and emit sharp pulses of high-power microwave energy that fry computer chips, disabling any electronic devices targeted by the missiles without causing any collateral damage, not counting everybody who was standing nearby with a heart pacemaker. Is it real or is it a bluff? So let's talk about the Zumwalt, the stealth destroyer. And apparently over at the Pentagon, they have had a slight change of mind as to just what they're going to do with the ships. Originally, the Zumwalt and the two sister ships were meant to provide naval gunfire support for littoral combat activities. They were going to provide gunfire support from the Marines, bombard targets far inland. Now they're being repurposed to a ship killer role. So somebody decided that wasn't going to work the way they thought it was going to work. Okay, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez may have inadvertently done us all a really great service. When she was before Congress, she held up this little military spending issue. Say, we can pay for the Green New Deal if we just get the military spending under control. And she talked about this non-drive clutch plate by this company, Transdigm Group, and how it only cost $36 to make, but the Pentagon was paying something like $3,000 for it. Huge, huge uplift. Well, apparently that caught a lot of people's attention. And so all of a sudden over at Zero Hedge, we have this article on how a Department of Defense Inspector General is starting to expose how these contractors are just ripping off the American taxpayer. So Transdigm Group sold the Pentagon these drive pins that should only cost $46, and they were paid $4,361. That's a 9,400% gain in excess profits. This is coming from the Inspector General, U.S. Department of Defense's audit, labeled for official eyes only, was obtained by Bloomberg. Now, the Inspector General's audit shows 98 of 100 parts inspected were overinflated in value, and concluded the Pentagon is paying the Ohio-based defense manufacturing firm $91 million more in the next several years for parts valued at $28 million, with excess profit per part of 95% to the 9,400%. It's a huge, huge moneymaker. And I wonder how many members of Congress own stock in these defense contractors that are making these huge profits. And maybe that's why we can't get out of these states of war. They're all getting rich. Andrew Cockburn came out with an article. This is over in Russia Today. The U.S. military complex is a malignant virus that's evolved to defend itself. And it's a self-sustaining organism with an immune system that attacks and smothers any threat to its food supply, which is the taxpayers' money. And he's right about that. I remember about 5-6 years ago when I brought up the fact that the U.S. government was actually funding some of these terrorist groups. And we got the usual, oh, you're a kook, you're a nut, tinfoil hat, so forth. But there's an interesting article out of Government Slaves where the U.S. government isn't hiding it anymore. The Pentagon just asked Congress for funding to reimburse terrorists for their transportation and other expenses. We're talking about the Taliban, the supposed bad guys. The Defense Department requested fiscal 2020 funding to support certain activities, including logistics supports for the members of the Taliban, and basically would pay for the terrorist organizations' transportation, lodging, food, and supplies. So now the terrorists are getting a better deal from the U.S. government than the American citizen. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some have maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And turning to the domestic politics, Peter Schweitzer, president of the Government Accountability Institute, and senior editor-at-large at Breitbart News, is basically saying the Senate should call in Hunter Biden to testify on those sweetheart deals he got on in China and Ukraine, and about how it may have been influenced by his father, Joe Biden. And basically, Schweitzer said we need to begin at the headwaters of the whole story, which is the simple question. He was brought on the board of the Burisma Corporation. He was brought on to do regulatory compliance, which of course he had no background in, and he had no background in Ukraine. What precisely was he being paid to do, and why was he hired by Burisma? That's the first question that needs to be asked. So, yeah, nasty dealings out there. Apparently, U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan has ordered portions of Mueller's unredacted report to be released to the public, specifically portions related to General Mike Flynn. And they must be made public by May 31st. And this seems to be coming out about the same time, where hints are being dropped that Michael Flynn testified that the White House was trying to obstruct the investigation. So this is the round 2 of the fight. So apparently the judge also ordered transcripts of Flynn's late 2016 calls to Russian Ambassador Kislyak to be released. I told you, Trump, if you don't put on those brass knuckles, they're just going to keep coming at you, and that's what's going on. Maxine Waters is already out there, on her stump saying, impeachment's inevitable. There's overwhelming evidence, Stalstrom. It's inevitable. We're going to get him. We're going to get him. I suppose we should be grateful because while they're clawing and scratching and drooling over each other, they're not doing quite as much damage to the rest of the country, other than they're simply letting it run itself. And it could run into the rocks here. Joe DiGenova is starting to report on what's going over with the William Barr's investigation into how this whole Russia hoax thing got started. And apparently Durham has already used a grand jury. He's got documents. He's talked to the intel people. Apparently he's actually been working on this case a couple of months and hardly anybody knew it. But Joe DiGenova is out there saying that he believes in the long run some of these Russia hoax architects are going to go to prison. And he says it would be a beautiful thing. And I agree, but I'll believe it when I see it, because we've had all this talk about, the handcuffs are coming out, this person's going to be arrested, that person, Anonymous says that the arrests will begin, or Q says this, and it doesn't really happen. I don't want anybody to think I'm happy being reassured things are going to get better. I want things to get better. I don't want people thinking I'm going to be made happy being told that certain people are going to jail. Wake me up when they're actually in jail. Okay, no more of this long, slow drag out. A little bit of bad news for Chelsea Manning. She is back in jail for refusing to testify to a grand jury. So she's back at the Alexandria Detention Center until either she agrees to testify against Julian Assange to a grand jury, or until the grand jury term expires in 18 months. Okay. Now, a little bit of good news. You know about the Ninth Circuit Court out there and how they're very liberal and sometimes on the edge of kooky. But with the confirmation of Kenneth Keel Lee to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday, Trump is actually on track to flip the liberal court to conservative by 2020. So I think that would be good, because that Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, I think, has been responsible for some really, really destructive decisions that were not good for our country. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with a phone call. Al in Canada, I'm going to have to take you through the commercial break, but what is on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Before the last break, you were talking about the politicians, having shares in all these military procurement entities.
Yes.
That's it right there, Mike. That's exactly why there's war, not to mention these big companies. Raytheon comes to mind. Like, I think they're one of the biggest. What's to stop them from throwing a couple of $100 million a year out, starting skirmishes here and there? Politicians love it because they're getting rich over it. They don't start politics rich. They end up rich. It's disgusting. It happens up here, Mike, with our leader.
Yep.
What a joke. With the SNC Lavalin affair, he had stocks in it. It was trying to get his AG to turn the cheek on fraud and bribery and all the other things that this company's accused of. Guy's still in power, Mike.
Yep.
Canada, you're in the United States. Your people are still, your politicians are still in power. How does this happen?
Yeah, because evil people will do things good people won't, and that gives them a natural advantage.
Yeah. You know what? I wish everybody could. I wish just one day a week, everybody on this side of the pond would listen to your show and realize that what you're talking about is true. This is happening right now, and these are the reasons why this is happening. And nothing's going to change until we change it.
Okay, I'm sorry, Al. I got to put you on hold. We'll be right back after these commercials.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath head to aroutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at aroutfitting.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Alan Canada. We're talking about the general nature of politics. And somebody once said that there are four kinds of people on Earth: makers, takers, fakers, and breakers. And I'm not sure if politicians fit into the takers or the fakers, or maybe there's sort of a bastard offspring of the two. But yeah, these are people who, as a class, they have an unshakable sense of superiority, and they're out for themselves. They're sociopathic individuals. And it would be nice if we would have some kind of a solid, reliable test for sociopathy, but we don't. But if we did, it certainly would be nice to apply it to anybody running for high office. Al, are you there?
No, I said I was taking off, Michael.
Oh, okay. All right. So, all right. Thanks an awful lot. I thought it said AI is taking off. All right. Phone lines are open. Thank goodness it's Friday here. So let's talk about the economic news here. Germany, France, and the Netherlands have said they will not block Huawei from participating in the expansion of national 5G networks. Now, the U.S. fears that China could use Huawei equipment for spying. No, what the U.S. really fears is losing U.S. customers to China. And Great Britain, same thing happening over there, living alongside big new power, Britain to use Huawei 5G kits despite Washington's China scare. Some hardware that is specifically designed to spy on people by American. What can I tell you? All right, a federal count shows that the number of homeless people increased by double-digit percentages in 3 San Francisco Bay Area counties over 2 years as the region struggled to tackle the growing problem, including 17% in San Francisco and 43% in the county that includes Oakland. More than 25,000 people were counted as homeless during an overnight tally conducted in San Francisco, Alameda, and Silicon Valley's Santa Clara counties in January. You can't say we've got a good economy when you have that many people living on the streets, when you have that many people out of work and just struggling to get by. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Tony in Puerto Rico, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Can I just change the subject a little bit? Carbon dioxide, that hurts the planet. Am I correct?
I didn't hear that last part.
Planet. Am I correct? Carbon dioxide hurts the planet Earth. Am I correct?
No. Carbon dioxide is essential. Carbon dioxide is essential for life. It's plant food. There would be no plant life as we know it without carbon dioxide.
Okay, because I thought that it destroys the planet because everything that breathes carbon dioxide, right? We exhale carbon dioxide. Am I correct?
Yes, and the plants inhale the carbon dioxide and they exhale oxygen.
Okay, so it's not destroying the planet. Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you. And we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Plastics destroy the environment more than anything. With all this floating crap they got in the ocean. They just had a thing where they went on deep into Mariana. Did you see that?
I saw that. Fox News did a segment on it. I mean, it's a huge problem. But from the description of what they were finding on this chain of islands in the Indian Ocean, I don't know that this is just the result of ordinary people being irresponsible with their plastics in the ocean. I think somebody is using these remote islands as dumping grounds for plastic that can't be recycled.
Kind of like Canada uses the Philippines as a garbage dump.
Yes. Because, you know, China literally used to run a business where they would, for a fee, allow scrap plastic to be dumped in their landfills. But lately they just decided they've accepted too much and they cut that off. Well, whoever it is that transports and gets rid of unrecyclable plastics, they got to take it somewhere. And I think they're just dumping it in the ocean, or they're dumping it on these remote islands, because there's just too much of it there to be accounted for by whoever visits the island.
Reminds me of that movie WALL-E. Remember the WALL-E?
Oh, yeah.
The humans, which was a great movie where the humans left the Earth and Lolly was the robot still piling up garbage because the whole planet was just like a garbage dump.
Yes.
And it makes you wonder, like, how sloppily we got to get our act together. Maybe if we stopped the wars and invested in, like, creating new ways to, like, recycle stuff, not fake recycling, but, like, as a business model instead of a warfare business model. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. You know, I think we'll be dead before we, like, wind up cleaning up any of this mess because of the way things are going. You know.
Yeah, well,
Mike,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I got cut off yesterday, and I don't know where I got cut off. I was talking about, remember, like, with the sanctions the U.S. puts against Venezuela? I don't know if you heard me, but if India buys oil from Venezuela and Venezuela buys goods and services from India, then those sanctions don't do squat, right?
No, they don't, but you could wind up having U.S. warships interdict the tankers and cargo ships mid-ocean, like they just did for that one, that North Korean ship. See, that's where the U.S. Navy comes in. They get to block the sea lanes of communication. Now, to Venezuela and India and North Korea, it's piracy.
That tells you the United States and the West is not a capitalist society. It tells you you're fascist because, like what we're doing with Huawei, like you're trying to block their progress because it affects, you don't want it to affect the way your business is run. Just like with Nord Stream 2. Nord Stream 2 for Germany, buy our liquefied natural gas from tankers. We'll ship it out to you 3 times more higher of a price. Like, that's not capitalism. I mean, this is like mafia crap.
Yes.
You know? I mean, and I don't understand how people can still, with a straight face, say we're being ripped off. This has been, what you're seeing has been going on for, like, before we were born, probably. Like, this kind of nonsense. This whole our way or the highway, you got to do business my way. You know, it's like watching one of those Godfather movies. In real
well,
time,
I mean, there's a big component of what led to World War I and World War II was this idea of who was going to be supplying, goods and products to Europe. Was it going to be coming from the United States, or was it going to be coming from Germany? And it really came on down to that. Great Britain couldn't compete against Germany, and they knew it, and so, unable to build Great Britain up, they just kept knocking Germany down.
That's why I think in the end we will have a world war, because the people in power here just don't want to accept, because they're all told we're exceptional. They're not going to accept anything less than what they're told that they are exceptional, right?
Yep.
So you can't somebody else can't come into your into what you believe as exceptional. So that's why I believe we'll have a world. But Mike, China's getting stronger every day.
Yes.
And we're getting weaker.
Yes.
That's the fact. It's like you can't stop their progress. That's what I'm saying. Like, you will not stop their technology, AI, their Huawei, because, like you said, Britain's on board now. Austria's on board with the Nord Stream 2. So, and Germany's fine with, even though they have some people in Germany talking about not using Nord Stream, but they will because it's all about business from their part of the world.
Yes.
You know? And
They need the energy.
Yeah, exactly. And most businesses in Germany use natural gas. I mean, I don't know how much a tanker, a liquefied natural gas, like a ship can deliver. There's no way it can deliver as much as a pipeline. Hell no. I can't see. You'd have to have ships lined up like from end to end, right?
Yes.
I mean, and how much would the gas cost then? Because it's 3 times more now, but if you had more ships delivering it, the cost would be even more than that. So it's just not feasible.
Well, at the moment, there are a lot of tankers sitting unused that could be put into operation. But yeah, if you're shipping the oil across an ocean, it's definitely going to cost a lot more than if it goes through a pipeline. And that's why pipelines are so strategically important and why they very often get fought over. I think at some point we could easily see the United States trying to gin up a war with China as a pretext to destroy what already exists of the One Belt, One Road project to realign global trade back toward the West.
But we just have nothing to offer, though. So you can start a war, but you have nothing in the alternative. Like, remember that, what was it, Obama has brought out the TPP?
Yes.
Or the PPP or whatever the heck it was? That was supposed to compete with the Belt and the Road. But that's non-existent anymore. So the Belt and the Road's it. We have nothing to compete with that. You know? Like, that's why I still think it's over. In the long run, we're going to lose. All right, Mike, have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot here, and let's do that. Let's go back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, you just were talking about it, and I thought when I was at the gym that it was on the sticker there. What do you call it? That's the sticker that I saw on the, I think it was on either Fox or CNN.
Yeah.
Thing about Flynn. This could be very serious for Trump. You know, he threw Flynn under the bus before. Now he's trying to do it again because they showed a tweet that Trump did also about Flynn that he should have been warned about what happened a year ago. But you know what I believe this is about, Mike? And this shouldn't surprise people who really go with the alternates or the independent media. This isn't about Russian collusion. This is about this thing about Israel collusion, in which I believe it was Kushner that asked Flynn to interfere to talk to Russia about some kind of a deal. I think the UN was sanctioning Israel for for the settlements, okay, for the illegal settlements there on the West Bank. And Flynn was talking to the Russian ambassador there, trying to convince him to not sanction Israel. Didn't work. The guy obviously told Flynn to get bent, but I don't know whether Flynn was whether if he really wanted to do that or he was doing a favor for Kushner. But this could have legs. This thing could hurt. It could also bring out. No, I don't think it will, because I think deep state, the main state, the corporate media, and a whole bunch of Zionist lobbies, the AIPAC and all that, they're going to try to squash this because they know this could show collusion, all right? Not Russian collusion, but Israel collusion. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Mike?
Oh, boy, where to start? I'm actually at a loss for words on this one. I think basically we have to go on back and look at this overview, and that earlier article may actually be correct, that one of the things driving the war agenda is an attempt to just hang on a second, my watch is now, there we go. Okay. Could you repeat that last question, please?
what was just brought out about Flynn, we in the alternate media, in the independent media, and I got this from Blackstone Intelligence. I'm not sure if you brought that out before, and Ryan Dawson, I believe, brought it out. What Flynn did is he was doing for a favor for Kushner, trying to talk to the Russian ambassador about not sanctioning Israel.
Yes.
For at least
now I remember.
And I told him to get bent, but I personally don't think they're going to want to go too deep in this, because this could, like I said, the Zionist lobby, the AIPACs, and all that stuff. They know that this could really show the American people, as if people don't know already, that the real collusion with Israel and Saudi Arabia, in this case, definitely Israel, and that.
Okay. Okay. Now I understand. Now I understand what you were trying to say here. Actually, given Israel's recent arrogance, I'm starting to think they no longer care if the American people really know what's going on. I'm sure that they have various departments, public relations or propaganda, that are working on that. But I get a sense, this lackadaisical attitude of about, who knows. Remember when Ariel Sharon was prime minister, and he was on that radio show in Israel, and he said, "Let me tell you something. We, the Jewish people, control America, and the Americans know it." And it was denounced as extraordinarily arrogant, and anybody who quoted it was denounced as an anti-Semite. But yeah, I think there's a lot of hubris there. Anyway, listen, Mark, we got to take another break for commercials. Thank you for the call. We'll be right back.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slows circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews. but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid 150s over the 80s to the mid 130s over mid 80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go right back to the phones to John in Texas. Aloha, John. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'd like to read you a excerpt, real short. It's from a book called The First Global Revolution.
Yes.
Report by the Council of the Club of Rome. I'm sure you heard of that one.
Yes.
And it's on page 108. Very interesting little couple sentences. The need for enemies seems to be a common historical factor. States have striven to overcome domestic failure and internal contradictions by designating external enemies. The scapegoat practice is as old as mankind itself.
Yes.
When things become too difficult at home, divert attention by a venture abroad, bring the divided nation together to face an outside enemy, either a real one or else one invented for the purpose. Says it all, Mike.
Yep, it does. That's absolutely true.
Yep.
That's why history is full of false
going
flags
on,
and, just designated enemies and, invade, and the people being invaded are saying, what the heck did we do? Says, you didn't do anything. I just needed an enemy. The Nazis did it to the Jews. We're doing it to the Muslims. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. And he said the scapegoat practice is as old as mankind itself.
Yep.
So,
no argument from me.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody and see if they wanted to read it for themselves.
Okay, well, John, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. Getting on back to the economic news here. The Turkish lira has taken a major tumble. President Trump has terminated preferential trade status for Turkey in retaliation for Turkey buying the S-400 missile. So now it looks like the United States is going to be putting financial pressure on Turkey to show the displeasure that you're daring to buy your products from other countries. Interesting little story here over at Zero Hedge. And it says, is China's mandate of heaven in jeopardy? This, of course, is talking about the current economic war going on between the U.S. and China. And it says, basically, Trump has changed the rules of the game. He's said that lost jobs in the U.S. are not worth the cheap goods and cheap financing because along the way, China's bought a lot of U.S. debt. Trump is betting China has no alternative but to keep producing those inexpensive goods and keep buying our debt, even if the U.S. imposes tariffs to help create manufacturing jobs here. I'm not even sure I understand how that is supposed to work. Because if China is going to keep on producing those goods and keep buying U.S. debt, all the tariffs are is a new form of taxation on the American people. And it's a doozy. So Trump and President Xi Jinping have been on a collision course involving issues of trade, tariffs, and currency manipulation, all of which are coming to a head. Okay, we got to take a break for station identification. We have a caller waiting on the line as soon as we come back from these few words.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. We're talking about the economic news. Story coming on out of governmentslaves.news, basically saying 59% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. They're right on the edge of disaster. One major event, they're homeless. They're living at the edge of a cliff. So long, it's become a lifestyle. I think for a lot of younger Americans especially, they've never known a time where there was a sense of security to their standard of living. It's always been a struggle. It's always been stressful. No wonder they're acting out so much. Okay, we got a caller waiting on the line. Sherry in Texas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mike. You were saying that I don't understand exactly all the ins and outs of the relationship between America and China, but I think China has an alternative. You know, I don't know, maybe you've talked about this before. I'd like to hear something about it. We buy China's technologies, like the chips for our computers, right? And we buy their airline parts too, and technologies for our airlines.
Plus consumer goods.
Well, we don't make our own. We don't make. Trump's is in about, what was it, a year or so. Maybe we can start making our own parts. But in the meantime, it seems like China's got the upper hand, because if they can control our technologies or give us bad chips and do you think there's any correlation between the fact that we buy parts for our airlines from China and the problems we're having? And with our cars too, you know, all the recalls and everything. Because, you know, if we're buying parts from a country that's ticked off with us, it doesn't put us in a very good position technologically. If China has that kind of advanced technology and can control what America buys, you know, and give them bad parts, that's another way of fighting back.
Well, I don't think any company, whether it's in China or the United States, intentionally wants to send somebody else bad parts, because that eventually comes back to you and hurts your sales in the long run. So I don't think that's a factor. I don't know to what extent Chinese parts are used in American aircraft construction. I would be very concerned about if Chinese parts were being used in the fabrication of warplanes, because if we do go to war, there's definitely going to be a parts shortage. There's going to be a logistics nightmare. Same thing with the cars. I don't know what percentage of the cars built in America use Chinese parts, because I don't really know the supply chain.
I don't either. I thought maybe just the technology parts, and when you're trying to navigate where to go, sometimes that thing doesn't work. I mean, sometimes it does. I guess it's better than I realized. But it, I don't know. It just seems like we didn't have these airline problems before, and we didn't have all these recalls in the past, and I just seems like this has come on since. I mean, if we do something to Russia, or if we do something to Iran, see, China's going to get. They could fight back technologically, I think.
Well, let's back up here. Let's back up here a little bit. First of all, there have always been airline disasters. In fact, in the early days of civil aviation, there were a lot of them. And so there's been a lot of effort expended to make aviation safer, a lot of regulation. Unfortunately, then it was deregulated, and the airlines were allowed to basically decide for themselves what steps they had to take to make sure the aircraft were safe. And as we're seeing from the recent situation with Boeing, they took a lot of shortcuts for the sake of a fast buck, and they're going to be paying for that one. So I get the gist of what you're saying. I don't think China is looking at actively sabotaging the products they send to the United States, because it's not like we're forced to buy them. And if word gets out that we're not, if word gets out that part X blah 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 has a serious problem, then other competitors in China will offer a copy of it, or will go to another company in another country.
Mm-hmm.
So China would actually be working against its own interest to engage in that kind of behavior.
Yeah. We'll see. It gets a little more complicated than I can really wrap my mind around. But it seems like if someone wanted to really give us a hard time, it wouldn't be a boots on the ground sort of strategy. It would be technologically. And for the first time, about a month ago, everything in the grocery store would not register. So everyone who had a checkbook with them or cash could buy their groceries. Everyone else had to take a note.
That seems to happen. That happens on a regular basis. It happens at our Safeway every once in a while.
Since when, though? Just recently, huh? Just like in the last year?
Years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
In fact, it's been a lot better. Of late, it's been a lot better. But when they first put that system in, yeah, it was down a lot. Anyway, Sherry, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates just now rejoining our network. Getting on back to the economic news, discount chain Fred's announced yesterday it is closing 104 underperforming stores as part of an ongoing effort to rationalize its store footprint. There's a new term, I hadn't heard that one before, rationalizing its footprint. Now, this comes 5 weeks after Fred's started these going out of business liquidation sales in 159 stores, and follows an evaluation of store performance and timing of lease expirations. So Fred's came on out and said these additional store closures are a difficult but necessary step in the continued restructuring of Fred's. So they're in trouble. All right, talking about immigration, Donald Trump has come on out and announced what his new immigration policy is going to be. He wants to get rid of the visa lottery in favor of a merit-based system in which we allow into the country people who can do the country some actual good. And immediately it's being denounced as racist and xenophobic. And basically, Carl Hamed Lipscomb, Deputy Director of Black Alliance for Just Immigration, came on out in an interview with Sputnik saying that the new immigration policy is designed to draw rich Europeans only. Well, don't you want the best people in your country? Doesn't that make any kind of common sense here? I mean, I'm looking at this story that came on out here over at Investment Watch blog. Actually, it originated in Breitbart, where they've arrested this illegal immigrant who was working as a home care provider for killing an 81-year-old woman. And now that they've got him, they think this guy could be linked to hundreds of other deaths. He's a serial killer, and he was just allowed to walk across the border. I'd kind of like to not have things like that happen anymore. And like I said, I have no problem with legal immigrants. It's the word illegal. And changing it to undocumented doesn't change the reality. They are here without the official permission. Now, CNN reporter Jim Acosta was caught in this outright lie on reporting on the president's new immigration plan. Apparently, Acosta came on out reporting that the president painted all asylum seekers with a broad brush of making frivolous claims to gain asylum in the United States, but that is not what happened. Trump specifically spoke of legitimate asylum seekers having their claims displaced due to others taking advantage of the system, which is far closer to reality. And the Trump people called Acosta out on this, and it kind of makes you wonder, how did Acosta, and yes, he works for CNN, how did Acosta win a journalism award about truth? Because only a month ago, the New York Press Club announced they would be awarding Acosta with the prestigious Truth to Power Journalism Award at their annual dinner in June. And I think they really should reconsider. They're calling him a journalist of utmost integrity. Well, not today he wasn't. Not today he wasn't. Okay, the appeals court has ruled against the White House in the latest DACA decision and basically said that well, they basically ruled against the Trump administration, upholding an earlier determination that Trump's attempt to rescind DACA protections was unlawful because it was not adequately explained, which sounds kind of like a weird situation. Isn't that what the court is there for, to figure it all out? But really taking the cake today is Nancy Pelosi, who right after trashing that pro-life bill in Alabama that would save the lives of countless innocent children, Nancy Pelosi cited faith in declaring that all illegal immigrants have dignity and worth. So that's where Nancy Pelosi is coming from. Illegal immigrants have dignity and worth. Unborn babies do not. Trump has decided he's going to be sending 500 migrants a month to Florida Democratic strongholds. He's basically making them come on out and reveal that they're NIMBYs, which means not in my backyard. And of course, what the Democrats want is they want the migrants to go to the Republican counties and districts to switch them to blue. But Trump is saying, nope, nope. You guys wanted to be sanctuary cities, so go ahead and sanction. All right. Interestingly enough, apprehensions are up 42% on our northern border as Mexicans and Central Americans try to enter the U.S. from Canada. There's been an overwhelming surge up there on the U.S.-Canada border, and apparently, obviously it pales in comparison to the southern border crisis. But there's an issue up there as well. The southern border crisis is just completely out of control. And now we're hearing about the Texas fake marriage scam, where apparently an illegal immigrant will come into the country. They'll be paired with a legal citizen and married, making them a citizen. They'll wait a decent amount of time, and then they'll divorce. And the created citizen remains a citizen. The citizenship is not revoked with the divorce. And apparently, non-citizens have paid between $50,000 and $70,000 to go through this marriage scam. So you kind of wonder if these people coming into this country have that kind of cash. Why do they feel they need to come here? All right, this next story has popped up a couple of places around the web, including the Gateway Pundit, and it comes under the heading of "Great if it's true, but I'm not sure." Over at the Daily Caller, Amber Athey is reporting that multiple senior Trump administration officials says President Trump will soon invoke the tremendous powers of the Insurrection Act to get rid of illegal immigrants across the land. Now, under the Insurrection Act of 1807, the president has the authority to use the National Guard and the military in order to combat unlawful obstruction or rebellion within U.S. borders. The act was last invoked in 1992 by George Herbert Walker Bush to quell the Los Angeles riots, and was also used by Eisenhower in 1957 to enforce school desegregation in the South. Yeah, I remember those riots in Los Angeles. So, experts are saying Trump's use of the Act's powers would face legal challenges. There will be lawsuits, like there aren't already. And, however, the travel ban ultimately prevailed in the Supreme Court. Sorry, I skipped a line there. Okay, let's talk about some health issues. Over in Yemen, they have illegal immigrants there as well. And unfortunately, they have been hit with the cholera epidemic. And so far, it's killed 21 illegal African immigrants and asylum seekers, infected over 450 others. Over in Great Britain, Robert Peston of Peston Politics is saying that Theresa May will be gone by the end of July. Now, there have been a lot of rumors of May's demise, but she's still Prime Minister. But Peston's theory is well-founded. Eurointelligence agrees that there are more calls to resign. People just, they want her out. She messed up Brexit, tried to make it a non-Brexit Brexit. People are very angry. Getting into the world of political correctness, and you're not going to believe this one. This happened down in New Zealand. There was this school that was celebrating an anti-bullying day, and to celebrate it, you were supposed to wear pink. Okay? So they had this pink shirt day, and for this one boy, he was actually sent home from school because he wasn't wearing enough pink. This was Helensville Primary School sent the boy home. The boy's mother, Claire Lilifano, took to Facebook to say her son had been sent home to change. Now, students had been told they could wear pink in support of the day, or they could wear their school uniforms. And the mother said her sons looked for as much pink clothing as they could find. But, you know, come on, let's be honest here. Guys, by and large, don't wear pink. I have a pink t-shirt, but that's only because it got washed together with a non-color fast red t-shirt. So the mother is saying apparently what he was wearing wasn't good enough, so the head of the school sent him home to get changed. Didn't even check if the parents were home. Over in Baltimore, they're having a major problem with malware. And it's a cryptocurrency miner, and it's a ransomware. And it infected the city's communications network servers a week ago. And it's continued to spread. They can't get ahead of it. And now the essential systems required for tracking real estate deals have gone offline. So the entire real estate industry is now paralyzed. No homes can currently be bought or sold. When is somebody going to do something about the cybercrime? Where is the mighty NSA, which we've all been told listens to everything that goes on the internet. Okay. We were talking the other day about Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes, Mark Zuckerberg's former college roommate and partner, writing up an editorial saying that it's time to break up the Facebook monopoly. And interestingly enough, over in Great Britain, the Financial Times wrote an editorial in which they said, yes, it has to be done. Said that European capitals could lead the charge, but ultimately the U.S. must wake up and start regulating. Well, there you go, Donald. You've got the support of the world to get on out there and move all of these corporate social media platforms back to the middle, back to fairness and open discussion, or you're going to lose in 2020. All right, we're coming up here on another commercial break, and we'll be back after these few words.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And getting on back to computers. And oh, first of all, before that, yeah, we put out the call for donations. We really need your help. Things are very hard right now. And I know you're all on edge. We had that article earlier in the show about half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. But we do need your help. So the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can call in with a credit or debit card donation or to pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1. The network thanks you. So getting on back to all the stuff about Facebook, and it seems like they're getting into more interesting things here. Facebook said yesterday it banned an Israeli company that ran an influence campaign aimed at disrupting elections in various countries. And Facebook has canceled dozens of accounts engaged in spreading disinformation. Nathaniel Gleicher, Facebook's head of cybersecurity policy, told reporters the tech giant had purged 65 Israeli accounts, 161 pages, dozens of groups, and 4 Instagram accounts. Many were linked to the Archimedes Group, a Tel Aviv-based political consulting and lobbying firm that boasts of its social media skills and ability to, quote, change reality, end quote. Okay. So, see, it wasn't Russia that was influencing our elections. It was Israel here. Over at MGM Resorts, they are offering to settle the liability lawsuits from the 2017 mass shooting at the Mandalay Bay with an $800 million settlement. And they were sued basically for failing to provide protection for the people. And the company believes it is reasonably possible that a settlement will be reached shortly. And apparently they have $751 million in insurance that will cover most of that settlement. So it looks like that chapter is coming to a close. Okay. More about Notre Dame. And I mentioned yesterday that there is this debate going on between one camp that wants it to be restored as it originally was, and another one that wants to take the entire roof and make a steel and glass structure, including a new spire along the lines of that pyramid that was built outside the Louvre. And by the way, the architect who designed that pyramid just passed away. His name escapes me at the moment. And it turns out that what is happening in the background is they want to turn Notre Dame into a new tourist destination. Meaning, if it's just restored and you've already been there, why would you bother? But this is the new Notre Dame, and they want it to basically be up and running in time for the 2024 Olympic Games. So there's a little bit of timing and economics there. This one is a little bit strange here. For 40 years, the good ladies of the Women's Institute have been washing their hands and putting on their little pinnies to bake cakes and biscuits for the terminally ill patients at the Loros Hospice in Leicester. And they have now been told that their confectionery gifts are no longer welcome. Loros, which is the Leicester and Rutland Organization for the Relief of Suffering, is not allowed to accept them because members' kitchens have not been visited and approved for cleanliness by health inspectors. Now, Glennis Wignell, 75, said she's never encountered any problems with health and safety in 3 decades. And Lauros manager Helen Williams said, "We have loved receiving donations from so many generous supporters, but this is a decision made by the local authorities, not by our organization." So stop and think for a minute about what has just gone down here. The health inspectors have come on down and said, we're not sure that the cakes that you are baking are safe for people who are already dying in the next few days to eat. Now, how's that for bureaucracy for you? Silly here. Okay, we're going to take another commercial break here. Come on back with a few more stories heading for the top of the hour and the lovely Lady Claire. So we'll be back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide uphold the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And I just got an email relative to that story about the cakes. You know, we don't know that they're healthy for these terminally ill people to eat. It says that story illustrates how only the intellectually dead end up working in government. Absolutely true. They don't want people who think in government. That's a threat to the politicians. Okay, Russian astronomers have discovered a mysterious new satellite out in geostationary orbit. This is the area where the vast majority of Earth's communications and television broadcasting satellites are situated. It's about 27,000 miles out there. And so objects in geostationary orbit, they orbit the Earth once each day. From the point of view on the ground, they don't move. The sky moves behind them. The satellites stay there. There's only a limited number of spaces, and it's very crowded, and it's internationally regulated. But the Russians are saying this satellite they've spotted does not appear on any official records, and nobody knows what it is or whose it is. And more importantly, they can see apparently it is able to maneuver somewhat. Well, a lot of those satellites are able to maneuver primarily because precession, the effect of the moon, tidal forces can pull them out of their slot and they need to get back. But the Russians are saying this is something a little bit, more interesting. So we'll see what's going to come out of that. Is it just somebody has an illegal broadcasting satellite, or is this somebody's killer satellite weapon being tested? Okay, out in California, it is snowing. There's a winter-like storm that moved through California. The skiers are back out on the slopes. There's fresh powder on the Sierra Nevada. This being May, of course. Gosh darn that human-caused global warming. Getting on back to Monsanto, there's a big stink going on up in Canada. The First Nations in Ontario have basically gone to court. For 43 years, the forest industry has been conducting aerial spraying of glyphosate herbicide on indigenous lands. They call it a rain of death. And it's killed off a wide range of animals, plants, fish, and insects. Now, First Nations have tried to stop this practice since the 1990s through a variety of measures, including meetings with logging companies and government officials, protests, and reports, but the rain of death keeps coming. Now, members of the traditional ecological knowledge elders of the North Shore of Lake Huron say they'll be going to court to force the Canadian federal government to live up to the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850. That treaty guarantees First Nations in the area the right to hunt, fish, gather berries, and use plant medicines in traditional territories. The tech elders say that by allowing the aerial spraying to continue, the Trudeau government is violating this treaty and the Constitution Act of 1982 that reaffirms those rights. Well, I wish them a lot of luck, but Monsanto does seem to have a lot of that muscle. But Monsanto's day may be over because it came out earlier in the week that Monsanto had for 10 years run a black ops division that went on out and tried to destroy the careers of any scientists who are questioning the safety of glyphosate or any other Monsanto product, and in many cases just bribed reporters, write good things. Remember that story about Monsanto's synthetic bovine growth hormone? The Fox News reporters, they found out there was a problem. They tried to report it. They got fired. They sued for wrongful termination and lost on appeal when the court said, there really is no law compelling the U.S. media to tell the truth to anybody about anything. So Bayer, I'm sure, is having buyer's remorse right about now. But the media has been seriously embarrassed now because everybody's saying, oh, you were not reporting on this glyphosate problem because you either succumbed to blackmail or they gave you a gift or they just bought you off. How could you betray the public interest like that? And so now the media is turning against Monsanto, which would be a good thing, I think. There's no law that says a company has to last forever, especially one who engages in dangerous, bad business practices. And as a matter of fact, Bayer's stock has lost 44% of its value since they bought Monsanto. That is a major, major, major hit. Okay, now, apparently Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was interviewing a big pharma executive and just asked point blank why a life-saving HIV drug costs nearly $2,000 in the US and only $8 in Australia. I'm starting to like the new Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because now she's on point, she's on topic. Why is there this cost disparity? In fact, right now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is keeping the promise that Trump made back in 2016 that he was going to find out why all of these things were so expensive. So, apparently there's a new House bill, the Vaccinate All Children Act of 2019. It's all about selling product. I think we ran a story earlier in the week about how they've got mandatory vaccination laws down in Australia, and the president of Australia and his wife are heavily invested in vaccine stocks. That's how it works. You get into office, you force everybody to buy whatever it is the companies you own stock in are selling. Vaccines, bombs. Alrighty, so Senator Marco Rubio is out there talking about Iran, saying it's very simple. If Iran attacks, there'll be a war. If Iran doesn't attack, there won't. This, of course, is dangerously naive. With all this attention set on U.S. forces in Iraq and Iranian proxies in Iraq, it looks like that's going to be the staging ground, where they're going to blow up some American people, some American kids, and they're going to say, oh, we know Iran did it. Just like when they knocked down the World Trade Towers and they said, oh, we know Afghanistan did it. And then after they destroyed Afghanistan, we were wrong, it was Iraq. Okay, and then after they destroyed Iraq, well, maybe it was Iran. So I'm waiting to see somebody come on out and say that Iran has mobile biological weapons labs, just like Iraq did. Alrighty. This is an ugly story. Now, it doesn't name the company, but it's a company that sells beverages and is intentionally searching for and using chemicals that are legal, but they're addictive. That is really so tacky. It is very tacky. Alrighty. So we've already covered the WhatsApp vulnerability. And another story about Boeing. Before the Ethiopian crash, Boeing resisted pilots' calls for aggressive steps on the 737 MAX. I think Boeing has really done a lot of damage to itself, and it's going to stretch far beyond the 737 MAX. I mean, the timing is terrible. Boeing just came out with its 777X, and people are going to be wondering what shortcuts were taken to increase profits on that plane. Here's another article. Congress wants to steal $1.68 billion from Iran. This goes back to 9/11 and this idea that without a shred of proof, the U.S. government has now decided that Iran was behind 9/11. Oh, no, actually, this is about the bombing of the Marine base in Beirut, Lebanon. So they want to take some of this Iranian money that's frozen in the U.S., and they want to make it available to the families of these 241 American servicemen killed in this 1983 suicide bombing. Now, nobody knows who really did it. They even admit here they don't know who did it. But we have just decided that it's going to be Iran. And the excuse given was the Iranian regime founded and supported the terror group responsible for the attack, Hezbollah. Multiple court decisions have authorized that Iranian funds be seized and given to the victims' families. Okay, well, you need to remember that court decisions are not science and they're not evidence. It's just a judge's opinion. First of all, Hezbollah was not founded by Iran. It's funded by Iran in much the same way the U.S. funds Israel. And if Israel hadn't invaded Lebanon in 1982, there would today be no Hezbollah. Hezbollah began as a Shia resistance to Israel's invasion and mistreatment of the Shias in southern Lebanon. Second, and very important point here, it's not known what group or country is responsible for the bombing back in 1983. Nobody took credit for it. And it was such a huge embarrassment to the United States, they invaded Grenada the very next day just to get the media off the story. Now, at the time, Reagan's Vice President Bush, Secretary of State George Shultz, and National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane just decided to blame Iran and Syria for the attack, and a second one on the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon. And the U.S. later said that elements that would become Hezbollah were responsible. That's how they got around that little embarrassment here. But it was all highly speculative. It was all highly speculative. So the attacks allowed the U.S. and France to collaborate on attacking Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley. The USS New Jersey fired hundreds of shells at Druze and Syrian positions. It's just all lies. It's just all lies. So let's get back and talk about Iran. Why are we attacking Iran? Why are we invading Iran? Well, multiple reasons. First of all, because Israel wants it broken up as a regional power. And second, U.S. economists want Iran's oil sold only for the U.S. dollar to get our economy propped up again. And third, as that one article we talked about earlier in the day said, it may be that Donald Trump needs a distraction from some looming scandal that's about to break. There's very rarely just one reason why a war or an assassination happens. There are multiple overlapping interests. And the private central bankers want Iran under a private central bank, as opposed to the Islamic system they're under now. And a lot of people have been talking about war with Iran for years and years and years. Israel's been screaming that Iran was on the verge of a nuclear weapon in just a matter of weeks, going back 30 years, and it never happened. In fact, in all the inspections that were done during the signing of that P5+1 agreement, the international inspectors said, no, there's nothing here other than what's allowed to be here under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which was nuclear power plants, medical isotopes, industrial applications like destatokers. They found no evidence of weapons whatsoever. Iran is not the threat here. It's the U.S. The U.S. desire for hegemonic domination over the oil nations. And I'm concerned, obviously, that with all these assets in place and with all this talk about threats to U.S. forces in Iraq, that there is going to be a false flag. Could even happen this weekend. where they're going to sacrifice a bunch of American kids and say, it was Iran. Just like we decided back during the Beirut bombing, it had to be Iran. We had no evidence, but we don't need no stinking evidence. We just know psychically. All right, we're going to take a phone call. Carrie in California. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, yesterday or the day before, Dustin mentioned that, we can come back after a Soviet-style collapse because Germany did it. He gave them as an example. Things are a little bit different now. It was easier for them to tool up. They had craftsmen that we don't have. They had, it was less high-tech back then. They could put those factories up faster and get in production easier. And there was less competition for manufacturing then. You didn't have the China one belt, one road. I hope Dustin's right, but I'm not so sure. And, comparing the education system they had over in Germany to the one we got here, it's going to be tough to get some people that are competent to do these jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. This country has been so mismanaged between liberal education and Common Core and all of it. It's frightening to think what the next generation is going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I hope he's right and I'm wrong. Anyway, that's my only point today, Mike. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. And, yeah, I do see a collapse coming. We're either going to lose these wars or we're going to have a collapse coming. I think this is the end of the United States. And how we recover from that collapse, maybe we won't go high-tech. Maybe we'll focus on cleaning up our environment and become an agricultural power again. There are many different ways to prosper a nation. Anyway, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Don in Iowa. Aloha, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Yes, you're talking about the Lebanon bombing. That was a case where more Marines got killed than any other attack since Iwo Jima. Over 200 Marines got killed. It was a big deal. And I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of this guy, Christopher Berlin.
Yes.
He's the guy that comments a lot on Israel and Palestine. And all the people that talk about Israel and Palestine, this guy actually majored in it in college. He has a bachelor's degree in the University of California, Santa Cruz. Israel, Palestine, that old mess over there. And but he's a smart guy. He really believes that that was a false flag by the Mossad.
I agree with him.
That's what he believed.
I agree.
And people should check this guy out. He's not that easy to find. You can find him on YouTube, Christopher Berlin. He has a website, Berlin. He also believes that the Mossad was basically the main driver of 9/11 attacks too. But the problem is we don't have any good politicians, Mike. They're all, when we have to be looking at somebody like AOC, yeah, and she does say some good stuff. She's one of the few that has said we should cut aid to Israel. And we're looking at her actually. She's just a babe in the woods that doesn't know really her ass from her elbow, but she's by mistake she talks about some good stuff there. But I in my own defense, I valiantly tried to get you to run for Senate, and then they'd have the good people of Hawaii, instead of Crazy Maisie, they would have Iron Mike. Okay, I'll let you go.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot here. And yeah. Well, the politics out here on the island, it's very entangled, and it goes back a long way, and it's a machine. And I've never really had ambitions to hold political office. I just wish we could find some people who were better at it, because it would make our lives so much better. And again, looking at what's going on in our state with like that light rail system, what a mess they've made of that. A lot of people around here are thinking it's never going to get finished rather. And all that money is going to have been spent, and all the roads are going to be ruined, and we're going to be stuck with this eyesore of this elevated track across the southern part of the island. And yes, they tried to decorate it up with little embossings in the concrete uprights of palm fronds and tropical stuff, but it doesn't really work. And there's a big fist fight going on now about an audit between a grassroots organization and the agency, HART, that is administering the project, because it's way over budget by billions. It's years behind schedule, and it's never going to pencil out. Okay, there's the music. Time for a station identification, and when we come on back, it will be hour number 3 with the lovely Lady Claire. Stay tuned.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting next to me is the lovely Lady Claire with her unique perspective on the world. So what's your first story, Lady Claire?
Well, this kind of resonated with me because apparently France has taken an unprecedented action against reporters who published a secret government document. Now, this comes to us from The Intercept. These French journalists are facing potential jail sentences in an unprecedented case over their handling of secret documents detailing the country's involvement in the Yemen conflict. They don't say Yemen war. It's a war, folks, believe me. And earlier this week, a reporter from Radio France and the co-founders of Paris-based investigative news organization Disclose were called in for questioning at the offices of the General Directorate for Internal Security, also known as DGSI, and tasked with fighting terrorism, espionage, and other domestic threats. And what these reporters had done was to publish stories in April, later with The Intercept, Mediapart, Arte Info, and Combini News, that revealed the vast amount of French, British, and American equipment sold to Saudi Arabia and the UAE.
And this is military equipment.
Yes, right, to be used in the war on Yemen. And apparently these stories, based on a secret document authored by France's Directorate of Military Intelligence, which was obtained by the journalists at Disclose, mentioned that at the top of the French government had seemingly lied to the public about the country's involvement in the war. Gee, does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Does that ring a bell for
Yeah.
you, honey? Darn straight. They also demonstrated the extent of Western nations' complicity in the devastating conflict which has killed or injured more than 17,900 civilians and triggered a famine that has taken the lives of an estimated 85,000 children dead from malnutrition.
Well,
this is insane,
all of these
Michael.
governments are lying to all their
Yeah.
people about these.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, France and Britain didn't want to miss out on this whirlwind opportunity to get weapons sold to the Saudi military, no matter what the final outcomes of those sales looked like. And I posted some pictures I posted before of children who were just killed in the street, toddlers, killed in the street outright by Saudi bombing missions.
Yes.
Children who are dying of cholera because the water is filthy, because all the water infrastructure has been destroyed, courtesy of the Saudi government and the U.S. government. And, you know, with friends like these, but what the French government was trying to do was trying to prevent is becoming, how can I say, they didn't want to look as though they'd lied to their people, so they were punishing the tellers of this tale.
Well, it's the same reason the U.S. is trying to get Julian Assange.
Yeah, of course.
How dare you tell the American people we lied to you?
Yeah. And I really challenge France's President Macron and U.S. President Trump to take a look at these images. And if they are not somewhat moved by them, you have lost any shred of humanity you might have ever had, but had it surgically removed before
they ran for office.
Before they ran for office.
Okay, we have a caller waiting on the line here, so
great.
let me get your volume turned up.
Thanks, honey.
And Art off the grid, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, and hello, Miss Claire. Nice to see you're up
Thank
and
you.
about.
Well, yeah, doing better.
Because I want to get an intelligent woman's take on this.
Okay, thank you.
When Georgia passed its heartbeat bill,
yeah.
we noticed that a lot of people and a lot of the Hollywood types started calling for boycotts.
Yes.
To not do films and movies and TV series and stuff like that here in Georgia. And so, Walking Dead is filmed not far from Atlanta.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
Augusta's become a very popular place for filming. And, it kind of got me thinking when Alabama passed its absolute ban on abortion. I was expecting just Hollywood and the left just absolutely go with the reaction that they had over the Georgia heartbeat bill. I expected Alabama's outright ban to just send these people into complete and utter meltdown. But we've not seen that, and I'm kind of wondering what happened. Did they lose their fire?
No, it's economics. Georgia does have a healthy film economy. They've got a really good film industry. They've got a really good film commission. We were literally competing against them when I was still in production here in Hawaii with our own film commission. Alabama, there just isn't that much happening there.
Yeah, not a lot of infrastructure.
In terms of modern film production.
So that would probably explain why we've not heard the uproar over Alabama's law like we did over Georgia, because there's no real economic impact that they could impose upon Alabama.
No. That's exactly correct.
It sounds a bit short-sighted right there, because what that tells me is they're not really about, making this so-called what they call reproductive care. I'm kind of trying to figure out how is pro-abortion reproductive care. It's anti-reproduction.
Yeah,
is what
I
it
hear
is.
you. Art, I hear you.
What it does is it shows me that they don't really care about the health of the woman, whatever the abortion argument might happen to be. For them, it's all about money.
Yeah.
Push their liberal agenda using money as a weapon, which tells me they don't really care about the people. It's all about the dollar bill.
Art, I think you are absolutely correct, and I do agree with you.
Okay.
All right, well, again, it's nice to see you up and about, Miss Claire, and
Thank
y'all
you.
have a great weekend.
You too, and thanks for calling.
All right, Art, thanks an awful lot here, and we're going to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And back to Claire. And Claire, what is your next story that you have to talk about?
Well, what I have, I was talking about the countries of the U.S., the U.K., and France lying to their people about these arms sales.
Yes.
And this, of course, leads us potentially to the next big war, the coming war with Iran. And I have something to say to President Trump and people around him who may be listening to the show. President Trump, it appears to me that you have been Boltonized into believing that such a war might be good for the U.S. when the mechanics of what happened here is that you have simply outsourced your Middle East policy to Israel and let them have free reign control over U.S. policy in the region. This means infinitely more blood and possibly here in the U.S. a resurrection of the draft in this country. And with this draft, all of our listeners, especially if you have teenage kids, they're going to be coming after your daughters as well as your sons.
Well, the daughters are being excluded from combat roles now. They backed off on that one.
But to President Macron and President Trump, there are times when U.S., French, and Israeli policy need to align. But gentlemen, I'm going to swear to you that this is one moment in your political careers when that could be the worst possible thing you could do to the people you represent. And I'm very nudgy. My geopolitical nudgies have been up.
Yeah.
With all of this alleged confirmation by Bolton and Pompeo that this is actually happening. Well, if you've confirmed it, where's the evidence? What is the evidence?
Oh, it's classified. We
yeah.
can't show it to you. You're just going to have to take our word for it. After all, we're the U.S. government. We would never lie to you.
What about the weapons that Saddam Hussein was supposed to have had? That was an outright
Oh,
lie.
he hid them in Syria.
Right, of course. I'd like to move over to money. Speaking about money, there is a congressman who's calling for banning Bitcoin because it takes power from the corrupt Federal Reserve. Now,
The Federal Reserve is not supposed to have power.
Yeah. And this is a guy to whom I link frequently, Matt Agarist. If you're out there listening, please look us up if you ever come to Oahu. Now, apparently in 2017, the state of Arizona went after the federal government's attack on gold and silver by eliminating the capital gains taxes on precious metals. Now, this paved the way to deal a massive blow to the Fed Reserve and end their monopoly on money. And while the precious metals move was noteworthy, legislation was passed last year by the Arizona Senate, nothing short of revolutionary. What did they do? It officially recognized cryptocurrencies as money by allowing residents to pay their taxes in it. But when you challenge the Federal Reserve, they fight back, and usually dirty.
Yes.
The Federal Reserve is nothing more than a very sophisticated money laundering system perpetrated by the already moneyed on the rest of us. Mike, what would you say about that?
Yeah, it's a giant sucking machine, and it sucks the wealth out of the pockets of the people whose labor produces that wealth and puts it in the pockets of the bankers. They have been running this scam on planet Earth for a little over 300 years.
Yep.
And it is not something that serves the people or serves the nation. It is a system of enslavement, and it's designed to basically make the bankers who own these private central banks the richest people on earth.
Yeah.
They are so rich, they don't want you to know how rich they are.
Yeah.
They hide that from you, but it's
Yeah.
in the trillions.
Yes, I would imagine. And we had another thing happen this last week. The U.S. illegally evicted protesters from the Venezuelan... Protectors from the Venezuelan embassy.
They used a battering ram.
Yeah, it's like when... This, to me, is one of the real low points of President Trump's administration. Battering ram? Come on. These are just peaceful protesters and protectors of the embassy. Now, on January 23rd, a lot of Trump officials ratified the declaration by Gaudet. Is that how we're pronouncing it? Guaido. And the U.S. government seeks to illegally install Guaido and a new ambassador in the D.C. embassy as part of its coup attempt. Well, what did they do? They cut off electricity, refused to allow food and water to the protectors. Agents from the Secret Service, State Department in Washington, D.C. tried to raid the embassy on 13 May. They read from an unsigned piece of paper titled Trespassing Notice that the U.S. government recognized Guaido as president. President of Venezuela, and Carlos Vecchio as Venezuelan ambassador to the U.S. Anne Wright wrote an article on this out of Global Research. And if you don't know who this woman is, she is one of my great heroes of all peace movements. She has been on the boats to Gaza.
Yep.
She has lectured. And again, Anne, if you're ever on Oahu, we would certainly like to say hello and shake your hand.
Claire?
Yes.
She lives here.
Ah, okay. But she's never really here, though, because she's traveling,
No, she's
right?
traveling all
Yeah,
the time here. But
I know.
remember that one time we
Yes.
got to meet her over at Church of the Crossroads?
Yes, yes. Yeah. And also, speaking of South and Central America, there was apparently a Mexican journalist under government protection plan who got shot dead.
Well, that's your typical government work for you.
Yeah. Now, this comes to us from Al Jazeera. And apparently, the blood-soaked body of Francisco Romero was the 5th journalist to be killed this year and found on a pavement in his hometown. And he was a Mexican journalist enrolled in a federal protection program, and the 5th guy to get shot this year. It's one of the most dangerous countries for the press.
Yes.
And the body was found outside a nightclub in his hometown of Playa del Carmen, along with Mexico's Caribbean coast on Thursday. He ran a Facebook page site called Ocurrió Aquí, It Happened Here, that covers local politics and crime, and had more than 17,000 followers. That's reasonable, right?
Yes, that's very good.
He also worked for one of the state's leading newspapers, Quintana Rojoy. So what the state prosecutor's office did, they opened a homicide investigation, saying that Romero had filed a complaint on 12 April over threats he had received. The source, unspecified. Now, guys, if you're going to take a vacation, please kind of take Mexico off your list. I mean, I used to be able to drive down there on my own.
Yes.
And have it be just this wonderful little quiet place, and you didn't see any of the cartels in operation. But right now, go to Mexico? Heck no.
No.
I would not want.
I've been to Mexico many
Yeah.
times. It was, for the most part, a positive experience.
Yeah. Right.
And, but there are, even back then, there were places you did not want to go to, like Guadalajara, downtown
Yep.
Guadalajara.
There was, let's see, I'm getting to it. We were talking, or you were talking about these accusations of Iran having bombs in boats in the Gulf, et cetera,
Yes.
et cetera. And it's very strange. It's like theater reality rather
Yeah.
than hard, reality. And what they're trying to do appears to me like desperation on the cusp of madness. And the Iranians will not attack first because they understand that that is going to reduce their country into huge amounts of pools of glass.
And,
yeah.
and rubble and
Yeah.
blood.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And again, this idea that the Iranians just threw some of these rockets onto some of their little patrol boats. First of all, why would they do it?
Yeah, it makes
Second
no
of all, from an
sense.
engineering point of view, those boats were not built to serve as launch platforms for missiles of that size.
Yeah, because they're little boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they don't have launching rails. They don't have the ballasting to keep them upright when the launch occurs.
Yeah. And it's so strange with all these. We have proof, we have confirmed, which Pompeo and
Yeah.
Bolton have said over and over again. If you have no evidence that you can show the people, a very war-weary and war-skeptical people, how are you going to make that stick? There's no way.
Well, they're just going to keep repeating it until we get tired and say, all right, go kill Iran here.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at what's going on now here and thinking back to Colin Powell's performance
Yes.
before the United Nations.
Oh, man,
with his little bottle of talcum
Yeah,
powder.
yeah.
This is anthrax. Whoops, almost dropped it.
No, it sickens me. And I had a reasonably high opinion of this gentleman because of his service record. The moment he did that,
Yep.
reputation went right down the stairs. And no, I don't think Iranians will strike first, but I do know another country in the region that will have utterly zero problem in creating such an event. And
that's exactly right. It's going
Yeah.
to be a false flag.
Yeah, and in fact, if I were a betting person, I would almost be willing to bet that the alleged bombs Iran was supposed to have left in Syria will soon be triggered by Israel's Mossad. And if they're going to go ahead with this, Mike, they're almost losing the timing because there are other articles out there saying that Trump is thinking about reeling Bolton in or letting go of him completely.
Oh, I would like to see that happen.
Oh,
I mean,
I would like to see him peacefully.
now,
end
are we
his
talking
act.
about Iranian bombs in Syria being set off or Iranian bombs in Iraq being set off?
In Iraq?
In Iraq, okay.
Yeah, okay. They don't, they don't have time to wait if President Trump is in a contemplative place, and he's really seeing the pushback that he's getting from the international community. And if you think for a moment that this kind of despicable behavior would be off the table for Mossad, you'd better think again and read up on the Israeli attack on the USN's Liberty.
Yeah, that's the USS
Yeah,
Liberty.
yeah.
There is a book out by Way of Deception. It's written by a guy named Viktor Ostrovsky, who is a retired Mossad agent, and he lives in the United States now. I think he's down in Arizona.
Okay.
And he's become an artist, and he's got an art gallery where he sells paintings. But he's written these two books where he talks about all the dirty tricks that the Mossad has pulled over the years, including its participation in the attack on the USS Liberty and tricking Ronald Reagan into bombing Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
We have to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations. A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, distract yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We have a caller on the line, Moore in Wisconsin. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hello, lovely Lady Claire and First Mate Mike.
Hello back.
Yeah, I heard you say about USS Liberty in another book, and it reminded me just before you, so you probably didn't get to hear it, but on our RBN sister show, Mark Anderson, Stop the Presses, fairly new.
Okay.
He had Dave Gahary on the second hour.
Yes.
And they were talking about the USS Liberty.
Yeah.
And remind everyone about Erasing Liberty and USS Liberty movie.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
all
a
the
travesty.
Funds, all the funds for the book, all the funds go towards the movie. So for the book and everything. So USSLibertyMovie.com if anyone wants to check it out.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to let you go here. And I'd like to see that movie get made. Good luck finding distribution.
I know. And this comes from the Department of They Couldn't Possibly Make This Up. Wells Fargo, which has not been on the leading end of good news recently for the corporation, have another minor problem. A Wells Fargo banker pled guilty to helping launder millions for the Sinaloa cartel. Now, this comes to us from Zero Hedge. Again, I would suggest you might want to take a look, zerohedge.com. Guy was 30, and he pleaded guilty yesterday to knowingly open bank accounts for people working with the Sinaloa cartel for money laundering purposes. And, apparently between 2014 and 2016, money laundering organizations, well, I guess there have to be such things, right? I've never been approached by one, but yeah. And they recruited people who would open bank accounts for the cartel's drug money. Now, this is according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of California, and the operation laundered over, let me stop and say the figure a couple of times, $19 million in narcotic proceeds, folk, $19 million. Then the drug money would be deposited into various bank accounts, also known as funnel accounts, in amounts right below the threshold for regulatory reporting. And couriers would travel all over the country, pick up drug money at a lot of wild sites like private residences or public places like parking lots or retail stores. And then the couriers would deposit the bulk cash in 22,000 to 45,000 increments at various banks used for laundering, including Wells Fargo, after which funds were shipped into Mexican-based shell corporation operated by the launderers, which would then be transferred to the Sinaloa cartel. My gosh, and no one saw it? The magnitude.
I'm probably sure that a lot of people saw it, and I'm sure that Wells Fargo's not the only one. In fact, I remember even going back to the 1980s, there was a TV show, the original Miami Vice.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And it was a great show. It was a huge hit. And there was this one episode where they tracked the money to this big bank. And there was this very slimy looking individual who was the bank executive. In fact, it was the same actor who played in Poltergeist.
Played
the preacher. Played the preacher in Poltergeist. And he basically laid it out saying, look, you're not going to stop this. These governments are dependent on this cash flow, and we're dependent on them making their payments to us. And I just make one phone call and the case is closed, which ultimately turned out to be the situation. But we have a lot of banks that now appear to be dependent on processing drug money. And one of the reasons for that may be that their previous customers, ordinary Americans, don't have the kind of money we used to have.
Nope.
We don't have the high wages and salaries. We don't have the savings accounts.
Yep.
And it may be that these banks have simply made the decision, we either work together with these criminal organizations and hope we don't get caught, or we go out of business. And even the Vatican got caught up in it. Remember Roberto Calvi?
Yes.
The Vatican's banker?
He was hung, right?
Yeah.
From Ponto Vecchio? A bridge.
Yeah, was hanged from a bridge in London.
Oh, okay. All right.
And his pockets were filled with rocks. So, yeah. And there were allegations that, yes, the Vatican Bank was being used to launder drug money.
Whoa. That's more than a little scary.
It's time to decriminalize drugs.
Yeah.
Make all of this stuff go away.
Yeah, cage the madness. I agree.
Okay, so what's next? Oh, wait a minute. We're coming up on a commercial break.
I'll save this for after.
Hold that thought.
I shall.
Okay. And
I'm holding.
Thank goodness it's Friday. That's all I can say. It's been a crazy, crazy week with all of the problems that we had yesterday. All right, so here's the commercial break. We'll be back with more news stories after these few words.
On the flip side.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And during the commercial break, I got an email with more information about Chelsea Manning. And according to this story, Judge Anthony Trenga not only put her in jail, but has ordered her to be fined $500 every day she's in custody after 30 days and $1,000 every day she is in custody after 60 days, which means if she stays the full 18 months, we're talking a huge chunk of cash. Now, Judge Anthony Trenga, would you please go back to that Bill of Rights and reread the portion about excessive fines shall not be imposed?
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Of course, we understand this government's gone off the constitutional rails.
Yeah, definitely.
We're a fascist dictatorship. Okay, what is your next story?
Well, it comes to us from the world of science and a blog called theconversation.com. Apparently, there is some work that's starting to be done, and they've shown that viruses can, in certain circumstances, stop cholera infections. And the viral enemy of deadly bacteria could well become humanity's best friend. Now,
yes.
In the latest string of high-profile cases in the U.S., a cocktail of bacteria-killing viruses successfully treated a cystic fibrosis patient suffering from a deadly infection caused by a pathogen that was antibiotic resistance. Curing infections is great, but what about using these bacteria-killing viruses, bacteriophages, to prevent infections in the first place? Could this work for some diseases? Mike, your thoughts on this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of work done on this, actually going back quite a few years now, where they're trying to take the natural enemies of these bacteria, these macrophages, and sort of tune them and weaponize them, if you will, to go after these superbugs. And this is probably going to be the next wave technology, since we've sort of burned up antibiotics and created all these new antibiotic-resistant germs. The question is, what happens if the macrophages mutate? Because the whole point of them attacking the bacteria is they're using the bacteria to make more macrophages.
Absolutely. There is an article, I believe it comes from Zero Hedge. That time, John Bolton said it's good to lie about war.
Yes, that one surfaced.
Apparently, journalist Whitney Webb recently tweeted a 2010 video clip that the writer had never seen before, featuring U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton defending the use of deception in advancing military agendas, which highlights something we all need to be paying attention to right now, because of the reality that Bush's foreign policy has become increasingly Boltonized.
Absolutely.
And there's never been a war that the U.S. might have been about to get into that Bolton didn't think was the greatest thing since cornflakes.
I'm waiting for Bolton to come on out and scream that Iran has a Death Star.
Of course, of course. Apparently, on December 2010, it was an episode of Fox News Freedom Watch, Bolton and the show's host, Andrew Napolitano, were debating about then recent WikiLeaks publications, and naturally the subject of government secrecy came up. And so what the guy said, now this is almost jaw-dropping for me. Now, I want to make the case for secrecy in government when it comes to the conduct of national security affairs, and possibly for deception where that's appropriate, Bolton said. You know, Winston Churchill said during World War II that in wartime, truth is so important. It should be surrounded by a bodyguard of lies. And Napolitano looked at him as though he thought he was smoking opium, and he said, "Do you really believe that?" And Bolton said, "Absolutely." So as we're getting down to the wire of another false flag attack, my gut is telling me this week to get it into the news cycle by tomorrow, to have it over by Monday. What do you think,
Well,
Mike?
there are two ways for these things to be done here. Generally, if something happens on a Friday, people go away for the weekend. They're not looking at the news, and by
Yeah.
Monday, it's old news.
Okay.
So I would say the most likely time for something like this to happen will be Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah. You know,
And then the
it's-
corporate media can just sort of churn on it for the rest
Yeah.
of the week.
Yeah, you are. That's very logical. And, you know, for Mike and me, I think I can say this very truthfully. Looking at what is happening and has happened to the United States, it's like that archetypal dream of two railway cars about to collide on the same track, and you can't talk them out of it. You can't get them out of
You
it.
can't. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And I've been through that experience in real life. That was
Oh.
back when I used to sail on the Bounty, the
Ah,
one
yes.
they built for the Mel
Yeah.
Gibson
Yeah.
version.
Right.
And it was doing tourist sailing.
Mhm.
And I used to love to go out on that every weekend.
Mhm.
And they'd even let me take the helm.
Mhm.
So one time I'm waiting at the dock, and the ship is coming in.
Yeah.
And immediately I can see it's out of alignment.
Yeah.
And
It's going
moving
too fast. Yeah.
And they're trying to slow it down. And sure enough, it came on in, and it hit a piece of lumber sticking out by the transom called a jumper strut.
Yeah.
And it sounded like a cannon shot when it broke.
Ow.
And obviously, we did not get to go back
No,
out
not
that,
for a while.
that day there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I'd like to turn to another area of U.S. economy, and I believe this is from Zero Hedge. Farmageddon looms. Only 30% of U.S. cornfields have been planted, when the actual 5-year average is 66%.
Yes.
Now, 2019 is turning into a nightmare that never ends for the agricultural industry. You've got endless rain, unprecedented flooding, fields all over the middle part of the country soaked to the gills, and this has prevented many farmers from getting their crops in the ground. And I knew that this was a problem, but when I heard that only 30% of U.S. cornfields had been planted as of last Saturday, I had a really hard time believing it. And then the
That's a
author says,
problem.
but it turns out that that number is actually 100% accurate. And at this point, corn farmers are up against a wall because crop insurance final planting dates have either passed or are coming up very soon. In addition, for every day in May, after May 15th, that the corn is not in the ground, farmers will lose approximately 2% of their yield. And unfortunately, there's more rain coming, and it looks like thousands of corn farmers will not be able to plant corn at all this year. So it's no exaggeration to say that we are facing a real national catastrophe.
And
here.
oh wow, what if we maybe bought one less aircraft carrier and instead reinforced the flood control inside the middle of our country?
Yeah.
And we would be in so much better shape.
Mhm.
And of course, you had all those nuts running around saying global warming, global warming,
Yeah.
global warming. We'll never have to deal with this sort of thing ever again.
Yeah.
We had another record-setting winter. It's still snowing in California right now.
Are the ski slopes still open, honey, in those areas of California
Yeah,
that have skiing?
the skiers are still out there,
Mhm.
and this is May.
I know.
You know, we're in the middle of May, little past the middle of May.
Yep. Now,
And somebody had to know that if you had that much snow, you're going to get a lot of flood water and melt.
Yeah.
And nobody thought to stand up and say, we'd better start bolstering that flood control right now.
Right.
Or somebody did say it, and somebody else
Uh-huh.
said, no, we need to spend the money to buy more bombs and bullets, and you know, killing people in other countries is far more important than feeding the people in our own. But there is a problem coming.
Yeah. And
Okay, and it's not going to be just corn. Corn
No.
is just the one crop that they cycled in on. But the same thing is hitting potato farmers and wheat farmers and it's going to be an epic disaster. The United States is going to be a heavy net importer of food for this year.
Yeah. And if you can buy food in bulk and know how to preserve it, you need to be taking note of this
would
article.
Be a good time to really be looking at that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very slowly reintroducing myself to a crock pot.
Yes.
And we don't really have a freezer here of any capacity, but if we did, I'd be stocking it right now. Maybe not a bad idea. Okay, this is called Big Brother Britain.
Yes.
Say that 5 times. There was an extraordinary moment when British police fined a pedestrian 90 pounds for disorderly behavior after he tries to cover his face from a facial recognition camera.
Yeah, we talked about this one yesterday.
Of London. I mean, come on,
They were
guys.
running a test right there on the sidewalk, and just people walking by, and the idea was, could the camera see them, scan them, and keep up with the number of people?
Yeah.
So this guy was walking by,
Mm-hmm.
and he pulled his little jumper up over his nose.
Yeah.
And the cops grabbed him. And the cops fined him.
Yeah.
You know, how dare you hide your face from our camera here?
Yeah, and it's wild because this incident comes just weeks after it was claimed that the new technology incorrectly identified members of the public in 96% of the matches that were made between 2016 and 2018. Wow.
Yes.
You know, that's not good.
We did this one yesterday as well. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
All right.
And we are coming to yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, there was another pounding of the Yemeni capital. Heavy casualties have been reported. Now, this is in reference to the Houthi drone which destroyed oil service areas in Saudi Arabia. Apparently, 83 people were reported killed in fighting across Yemen in moves which the Saudi Defense Ministry officials clearly tied to the Houthi drone strikes on a Saudi oil pumping station. In retaliation, Saudi warplanes pounded the Yemeni capital of Sana'a on Thursday, hitting a number of military sites and also surrounding populated areas. Now, local officials reported heavy casualties, with 6 civilians confirmed killed and 60 wounded around Sana'a. The wounded were rushed to hospitals, and Doctors Without Borders reported that most were taken there to get support from the Doctors Without Borders. And that's just the civilian casualty count around Sana'a. Saudi-backed forces have also attacked the vital aid port of Hodeidah repeatedly over the last 48 hours and claim at least 83 are killed. I am betting that number is double or treble, Mike.
Could very well be.
They try to keep civilian casualties down, but it's not that. And they said the slain there were overwhelmingly Houthis. Now, this was a rather strange statement.
Okay.
Which comes from, what does it mean?
We have to be careful about that.
I know.
Okay.
I know. No. This I validated.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Senator Cotton said that the U.S. could win a war with Iran in 2 strikes, first strike and final strike. Now, Cotton did not say that he would not advocate for a war with Iran, but warned there would be a furious response to any provocation against U.S. interests in the area.
Well, that's the line we're getting from everybody.
Oh.
We don't want the war.
Yeah.
Just because we've got all this hardware over there off the shores and coastlines of Iran
Right.
should not be construed that we, the United States, want to. We hate war, but if Iran does something.
Yeah, that's always that darn semicolon.
Yeah.
Now, I find this very baffling because Senator Cotton did enlist to serve in the Army after in January 2005 as an Army infantryman. And by June, he was commissioned to 2nd Louis, and Lieutenant Tom got deployed in Baghdad for Operation Iraqi Freedom as a platoon leader. So the guy does know something about military.
Okay.
But what he is not taking into account, and conveniently forgets to mention, that if the U.S. goes to war, with Iran. China and Russia, which have very good relationships with Iran, may well join the fight on the Iranian side. And
I don't think they're going to actively engage in combat, although ultimately Russia did in Syria.
Yeah.
But it'll be mostly about supplying weapons and equipment, food, and advisors. They'll send in the advisors.
Yeah.
But the last thing we want to see happen is force on force, U.S. against Russia, U.S. against China. Because otherwise we're going to have a mushroom cloud out that window.
I know, dear.
Which is another reason we're going to move to the Midwest.
Yes.
As soon as we get the money.
Yes. Another very interesting article from Global Research. It's the Canadian outlet, and you should read that too. Now, the title is, If the U.S. Goes to War with Iran, Netanyahu will be the prime suspect.
Well, he's certainly a player.
Yeah, and he convinced Trump that Tehran will capitulate to crippling sanctions and a credible military threat. But the Ayatollahs kind of disagree. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu is the only world leader to openly express support for the escalating U.S. campaign against Iran, but his statement is an exception to the general Israeli rule. Now, in the 2 weeks that have passed since the U.S. announced that it was reinforcing its military presence in the Persian Gulf, official Israel has mostly taken a vow of silence, at least on front channel. And the attempt to distance itself from an American military operation in the Middle East, it's almost as though Israel was a fan in the bleachers covering their favorite team and inevitably sparking analogies to Yitzhak Shamir's policy of restraint in the 1991 Gulf War and Ariel Sharon's familiar attitude during the 2003 war between Iraq and Iran. And Shamir's task was rendered a lot more difficult because Israel was directly attacked by Saddam Hussein's Scud missiles, but it was infinitely easier as well because no one in their right mind could blame Israel for Saddam's 1990 invasion of Kuwait.
Well, Saddam got suckered by the U.S. on that one.
Oh, absolutely.
That one actually began with U.S. companies in Kuwait slant drilling under the border and pumping out Iraqi oil. Okay, we got to take a commercial break here. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath head to aroutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at aroutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Last segment of our Pauhana Friday program. And Claire, what have you got for us?
Well, I've noticed an uptick in Britain's security for personnel in Iraq due to what they're describing, or Sky News is describing as Iran risk. Now, Britain has raised the threat level for military forces and diplomats because of a heightened security risk from Iran. A spokesperson for the British Foreign Office declined to immediately comment on the report. And the UK has also put its personnel and their families in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar on an increased state of alert. There was one little wrench in this, though. And this guy, undermining the Trump-Bolton war narrative, this British general said there is no evidence of increased threat from Iran. And
this is the British general who's basically in charge of British forces in Iraq.
Yeah.
And he basically came on out and said, no, there is no indication. This is Major General Chris Gika.
Yeah.
And he did a video teleconference from Baghdad.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if the threat level seems to go up, then we'll raise our force protection measures accordingly.
Yeah.
So U.S. CENTCOM issued a statement later saying the general is an idiot, or words there too. And, of course, repeating National Security Advisor John Bolton's unsubstantiated claim that American intelligence has identified credible threats from Iranian-backed forces in Iraq and Syria.
Mm-hmm.
So
I am feeling we're looking at a very close
they're heading
time.
toward a false flag.
And I saw something also in global research that I just warmed my heart. And the title of this article is "Music of Dead, Bombed Out Buildings Must Be Heard. Gaza artists held an anti-Eurovision concert in building destroyed by Israeli attack." And at the front gate of the residential Al-Kunar building, which was flattened by Israeli airstrike a week ago, a Palestinian band arrives with their instruments. They sweep away small stones and building remnants as they prepare to start their concert. And the concert in Gaza is being held at the same time as a similar concert was starting just 70 clicks away in Tel Aviv, Charles Clore Park, to kick off the week-long Eurovision Song Contest. And holding a guitar, Mohammed Ukashe, 28, launches into a tune called Gaza Message with both of his drummers. The song called for a Eurovision contest to be boycotted. The band started singing lyrics of the Lebanese iconic singer Wadif al-Safi under the destroyed building's crumbling roof. "Oh, immigrants, return. Homeland is precious. Listen to the voice of Palestine. The voice of blame is speaking loudly. I will write your name, my country, above the sun that does not set, nor my sons neither, my wealth about your love. There is no love. May God bring back our happiness and laughter, and our homes filled with smile and happiness.
And with that, we have to bring our show to an end there.
Right.
The music is now playing.
Okay.
Please stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got a lot of interesting things to share with you.
Oh, yeah.
It is vitally important we all talk with each other about
Yes.
all of these issues that are going on
Yeah.
in order that we decide for ourselves what is important to think about and not let corporate media do it.
Amen.
Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. Please donate to whatreallyhappened.com. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol,